253 seconds, 4 minutes and 13 seconds, the new record, and it started with one wire transfer. Congressman Ted Lieu stood up, held a Treasury Department wire transfer confirmation above his head, and asked the question that would create the longest silence in congressional hearing history. Mr. Miller, on April 3rd of this year, $6.2 billion was transferred from a DHS emergency operations account to a corporate entity registered in the Cayman Islands. One wire transfer, $6.2 billion to an offshore tax haven. I have a very simple question. Who received $6.2 billion? Miller's face went completely still. Not pale, not shocked, still. Like someone who just realized the one thing he hoped would never surface had just appeared on a screen in front of 40 cameras. His lead attorney's hand froze mid-word on his legal pad. His second attorney actually closed her eyes for a full 3 seconds. Like she was hoping when she opened them, the document would be gone. And Ted Lieu, former Air Force prosecutor, the man who spent years building cases that could not be broken, had not even mentioned the shell company structure yet. Let me set the scene. House Oversight Committee, Room 2554, Monday afternoon, 2:47 p.m. Eastern. The hearing was listed as Oversight of DHS Financial Management and International Transaction Compliance. Boring enough to avoid attention. Specific enough that anyone who knew what was coming understood exactly what this was about. Lieu had subpoenaed Treasury records 6 weeks ago. Treasury fought it for 3 weeks. A federal judge ordered compliance. The documents arrived 4 days ago. Miller arrived looking composed. 3 attorneys, all expensive. He had prepared for budget questions, contractor payments, emergency authorizations. He had not prepared for a military prosecutor presenting wire transfer confirmations that cannot be disputed. Then Lieu took the microphone, and the room temperature dropped. Mr. Miller. Lieu's voice was calm, precise. The voice of someone who has presented evidence in dozens of courts and knows exactly how to build a case. The Treasury Department maintains records of all international wire transfers over $10 million. It is called the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Banks are required to report these transactions. The reports go into a federal database, and that database can be searched by congressional investigators with proper authorization. He opened a folder. I searched that database for wire transfers originating from Department of Homeland Security accounts. I limited the search to transfers over $1 billion sent to financial institutions in countries classified as offshore financial centers. Do you know what I found? Miller leaned forward slightly. Congressman, DHS processes thousands of financial transactions daily. International payments for various operational. I am not asking about thousands of transactions. Lieu's voice stayed level. I am asking about one transaction. April 3rd of this year, $6.2 billion, one wire transfer. The largest single international wire transfer in DHS history. He pulled out the first document. This is a SWIFT confirmation, the official banking record for the transfer. $6.2 billion sent from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York on behalf of the Department of Homeland Security. Receiving institution, Cayman National Bank, Georgetown, Grand Cayman. He set it down. Mr. Miller, why did DHS send $6.2 billion to the Cayman Islands? The room went completely silent. Not the polite quiet of people waiting for more information, the heavy, oppressive silence of people who just heard something that sounds very, very wrong. Lieu pulled out a second document. I did what any prosecutor would do. I traced the receiving entity. The wire transfer lists the recipient as Hemisphere Strategic Solutions. I searched corporate registries in the Cayman Islands. Hemisphere Strategic Solutions was incorporated on March 27th, 7 days before receiving $6.2 billion. The company has no employees, no physical office, no business operations. The registered agent is a corporate services firm that manages 14,000 other shell companies at the same address. He looked at Miller. $6.2 billion went to a company that did not exist 2 weeks earlier and has no business operations. Who owns Hemisphere Strategic Solutions? Then came the authorization form. To authorize a wire transfer over $1 billion from a DHS account, you need approval from 3 people. The DHS Chief Financial Officer, the Treasury Department, and the Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. He opened the document. This is the authorization form for the April 3rd transfer, signed by the CFO on April 1st, signed by Treasury on April 2nd, and signed by you, Mr. Miller, on April 3rd at 9:47 a.m. He held it up. Your signature authorized $6.2 billion to move to a Cayman Islands shell company. 4 hours later, the wire was sent. So I'm going to ask you again, who received the money? Miller opened his mouth. Nothing came out. His attorney whispered something urgent. Miller shook his head slightly. and that is when the silence started. Lieu pulled out his phone, opened the stopwatch, held it up. Mr. Miller, I am going to time how long you refuse to explain where $6.2 billion went. He pressed start. 10 seconds. Miller's hands flat on the table. 20 seconds. His lead attorney writing something, crossing it out, writing again. 30 seconds. A Republican committee member spoke. Ted, are you saying $6.2 billion went to a company that was created a week before the transfer? Lieu nodded. 7 days. The company was incorporated on March 27th. The wire was sent April 3rd. 40 seconds. Miller said nothing. 60 seconds. 1 full minute. Who owns Hemisphere Strategic Solutions? 70 seconds. The committee chairman leaned in. Mr. Miller, this is $6.2 billion of taxpayer money. You signed the authorization. You owe this committee an explanation. 80 seconds. Miller's jaw clenched. Visible. The cameras caught it. 90 seconds. Lieu checked the stopwatch. 1.5 minutes. Mr. Miller, let me tell you what else I found. Because I did not stop at the wire transfer. I traced what happened after the money arrived in the Cayman Islands. 100 seconds. Hemisphere Strategic Solutions held the $6.2 billion for exactly 72 hours, 3 days, then the money moved again. The entire amount was transferred to 4 different accounts. $2.1 billion to Switzerland, $1.8 billion to Singapore, $1.4 billion to Luxembourg, and $900 million to Dubai. 110 seconds. 4 offshore financial centers, 4 accounts protected by banking secrecy laws, 120 seconds, 2 full minutes. And here is the part that should concern every American watching this. Those 4 accounts all share the same beneficial ownership structure, which means the same person or group of people control all 4 accounts. 140 seconds. $6.2 billion moved to the Cayman Islands, split into 4 accounts, all controlled by the same people. Who are those people, Mr. Miller? 160 seconds. Lieu walked closer. I have been doing this for 25 years. I have prosecuted fraud cases, money laundering cases, corruption cases, and I have never seen a wire transfer this large disappear into shell companies this quickly unless someone was trying very hard to hide where the money was going. 180 seconds. 3 full minutes. You signed the authorization. You approved $6.2 billion moving to a company that did not exist a week earlier, and now you are sitting here silent rather than explain who received it. That silence tells me you know exactly who got the money, and you know that if you say their names, this becomes a criminal investigation. 200 seconds. A Democrat from New York stood. Mr. Chairman, we are watching obstruction in real time. 210 seconds. Then one final document. Mr. Miller, I also subpoenaed your calendar and email records. On March 28th, one day after Hemisphere Strategic Solutions was incorporated, you had a meeting in your office. The meeting was not on your official calendar. But building security logs show 6 people entered your office that day. 3 were from a law firm that specializes in offshore corporate structures. 2 were from a private equity fund currently under SEC investigation. And 1 was a foreign national whose visa application flagged them as a potential intelligence concern. 220 seconds. You met with these people one day after the shell company was created, 6 days before you signed the wire authorization, and 3 weeks before $6.2 billion disappeared into the Cayman Islands. 240 seconds, 4 full minutes. Lieu stopped walking. Mr. Miller, I am going to count to 253, and then I am going to move to hold you in contempt of Congress, and refer this to the Department of Justice for criminal investigation under federal money laundering statutes. 245, 248, 251, 253. He stopped the timer. 4 minutes and 13 seconds. The new record. He turned to the committee. The witness has refused to answer. I move to hold Stephen Miller in contempt of Congress. I further move to refer this matter immediately to the Department of Justice for criminal investigation under federal money laundering and conspiracy statutes. Both motions were seconded. Both passed unanimously. Lieu gathered his documents and held up the wire transfer confirmation one final time. 253 seconds. That is how long you sat protecting whoever received $6.2 billion. But wire transfers leave trails. Bank records exist. Corporate registries can be searched. And those 6 people who visited your office on March 28th, we have their names. We have building security footage. We have visitor logs. And the FBI is going to interview every single one of them. He looked directly at Miller. You spent 253 seconds protecting whoever received $6.2 billion. But federal prosecutors are very good at following money, and $6.2 billion is a very large trail.